Hello, today we have some great tips for you for the month of October. Now this is the time of year when we start paying attention again to our cool season turf grasses if you have them growing in the landscape. Tall fescue is probably our predominant species that we use, and this is an excellent time to overseed or reseed an existing tall fescue lawn or establish a new one if necessary. This is also the time that we would put down our first application of fertilizer for the growing season of our cool season grasses. We're going to put down about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. We also want to lower our mowing height to about 2.5 inches for the fall and winter months on our cool season grasses. And then this is also an excellent time to pull out those broadleaf herbicides again to control the broadleaf weeds that are growing in your turf grasses, such as the dandelions that show up at this time of year. Now for ornamentals, the cool season annuals will be showing up in the garden centers pretty soon. The pansies, the snapdragons, the ornamental kale and cabbage. Those are great plants to put in the ground now. They usually do really well through the winter months and then put on a nice show in the spring. The other plants that will be showing up in the garden center soon are the spring flowering bulbs, such as tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, and those can be purchased now as well. And you want to get in there when they come in early to get a good selection, get the nice, healthiest and the biggest bulbs, and then store them for a little while. You don't really want to put them in the ground too early in October. It's usually better to wait till the latter part of October and early November to put those in the ground so that the warm weather and the rainfall that we might get doesn't encourage them to grow too early. You can also plant those in with your cool season annuals such as pansies, and they'll have put on a really nice display come next spring. Now if you have spring flowering perennials such as peonies and daylilies that might need to be divided, now is a good time to do that. Dig them up, divide them up, thin them out, and replant them. You can also dig up your tender perennials such as caladiums, dahlias, some of the cannas, and you store those indoors in a cool, dry place through the winter months. Now in the garden centers, you'll have also some of the other plants, landscape plants to be looking for, and if you want something for fall color, now's a good time to go in and see the plants while they're in fall color and select them based on their performances now. Of course, this is a great time to plant your containerized trees and shrubs, giving them an opportunity to establish a good root system before the next growing season. And then finally, if you have indoor plants or tropical plants that you've been growing outdoors and you want to move them indoors, again, remember to inspect them for insects and diseases and treat them before you move them in. Now October is also the time we would start harvesting a lot of our warm season crops from the vegetable garden. Our sweet potatoes, pumpkins, and squash can be harvested at this time. And for those of you who have been growing tomatoes, they should be flowering again and starting to produce more fruit. But as we get into the latter part of October, of course, we have the chances of frosts and freezes that can kill the plants. And if you have green tomatoes still on the plants with a forecast of freezing weather, go ahead and remove those green fruits, bring them indoors, and oftentimes they'll ripen for you right there on your counter. Now you still have time to plant some of your cool season crops as well. Plants that will germinate and mature quickly, such as radish, lettuce, mustard, things like that. Before the cold weather sets in, you can still get a nice harvest from those. And then finally, you want to make sure that you clean up your debris as we move into the colder parts of October and November. You don't want any of the debris left in the garden, especially if it's been plagued with insects and diseases. You want to remove that, destroy it, get it out of the garden so that you're not harboring those pests in the garden that will reinfect your plants again next year.